There we go.
It's a
Okay,
lot.
Khan.
There we go. So how you doing, Nak?
Shalom. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Shalom. Um, Ashar Yom Kippur to those of y'all who are observing the Day of Atonement. It's a happy Day of Atonement. Hope y'all are having a good one. If you're observing it, if not, I mean, like we always say, like it says in Colossians, we're not going to judge by the when you're keeping your Sabbaths, when you're keeping your holy days, right? Shalom to the brother Mac Israel. Shalom or Shalom to exclusive one, two. Hope y'all are having a good one in the spirit. And
Shalom.
so we're going to go ahead and start this lesson, as always, by giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, for another day of life, for one Sabbath closer to the kingdom, for
Khan.
another holy day, if y'all are observing it, to the sister Natasha, Shalom, Shalom. You got anything you want to open up with that?
Shalom. Happy Day of Atonement to those who are observing it today. All praises be to the Most High Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. Shalom to everybody in the comments already. All praises to everybody who's looking to be edified, just as I am, in humility and sincerity.
The water for that.
Khan.
So the brother Ivan, Shalom, Shalom, Mark. Good to see you on here again. The brother Mac Israel said y'all be open to questions afterwards. Um, if we have some time, I'm not honestly not sure how long this lesson is gonna take. If we have some time, then Khan. If not, tomorrow for sure. I'm gonna get on here once or twice if the brother is available as well. Get on here at least once, maybe two times since we're observing the Day of Atonement. So if it gets too late today, then tomorrow for sure. Any questions you have, we'll go ahead and get to them. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and start in Leviticus 23, verses 26 through 32.
Khan.
Right. And I'm gonna send you a couple of verses in the private chat out just so you can have them. Right. So like I said, we're gonna touch on the lesson is called DOA or Day of Atonement, and what does being lukewarm look like? So first, we're gonna go over a couple of verses, just for those of y'all keeping the Day of Atonement, just to refresh on it, and then we'll get into lukewarm, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with, in Revelation, the third chapter, where Yahweh Shai is talking about being lukewarm. Right. So just give me 1 second. Send these verses to the brother.
Khan. You said through 32, correct?
Con 26 through 32. Okay, so the brother said, Mac Israel, I DM'd you on Insta. If you have time to reply whenever, greatly appreciated. So, Khan, tomorrow, once Day of Atonement, after sundown, I'll go ahead and get back to you. I actually had a lot of messages today, but I was just trying to. Sometimes it's just like a lot of times I erase Instagram from my phone, and then when like something through the spirit pops up in my head, or I read a verse or something, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna post something about that, and then I'll just get it back real quick, and then I'll post it and get back off. You know what I mean? So that's what I've been trying to do lately. And right now for Day of Atonement, I'm not gonna be on for the rest of the day, so I'll definitely get back to you tomorrow. Though, Wak. Is your name Mac Israel? Or you know what? I think I've seen that picture on the Instagram, so I'll know who you are. So we're gonna start in Leviticus 23, and 26.
Con. This is
Con. So this is going over
Leviticus.
the Day of Atonement.
Con. This is Leviticus chapter 23, verse 26. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Okay, so this is talking about the Day of Atonement, which, like I said, some of us brothers, me, the brother Jomar, I know at least a good few handfuls of brothers, the House of David, the a few different camps as well that are keeping the Day of Atonement today. Just started at sundown till tomorrow at sundown, being the 10th day of the 7th month. And what it's saying is this Day of Atonement, right? If you could get the definition of atonement, Baba Kashar, I know we did it yesterday, but just so we could have it, the Day of Atonement is a chance for you to, in a sense, afflict your soul and make up for the sins that you have committed, right? So we know that Yahushua was the perfect um, sacrifice for our sins, right? And us being baptized into him, we get remission of sins at that point, according to Acts 2 and 38 and many other verses. When you're baptized, you get remission of sins. But we also know that from that point on, after baptism, we all sin, we all fall short of the glory of the Most High, knowingly or unknowingly, right? Both of them. And so this is a chance to, in a sense, afflict yourself and make up for those sins that you have been committing.
Atonement is reparation for a wrong or injury. In religious context, a reparation or expiation for sin.
So a reparation or a payment or payback for sins, right? So we're doing this in the hopes that the Most High looks upon us and has mercy, because we're one keeping the law of keeping the holy day, and two, we're trying to make an atonement for our sins, right? And it says, afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. So obviously we don't make the offerings by fire, like the calves, the sheep, the goats, things of that nature anymore, because Yahweh was the perfect example. But we can also make an offering to the Most High, whatever that may be in your mind. Of course, the fasting, not eating and not drinking, but as well getting off of social media, maybe not watching TV, right? Not doing anything that is a worldly pleasure, which we're gonna get into right now as well.
Leviticus 23 and 28. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God.
So we're also not supposed to do any type of work, right? So sometimes on certain holy days, it'll say you're not to do any servile work, right? Meaning serving other people, making money, things of that nature. But this says you are not supposed to do any type of work, right? No work that day, because the work that we're trying to put in here is to make an atonement for our sins, right? So when you look into other people um, that keep this day, like the Jewish people, so-called the fake Jews, right? As a matter of fact, if you could pull up the definition of Yom Kippur, I believe they say it's like their holiest day that they keep, right? And the point of it is to make an atonement for your sins. So you're supposed to be in prayer, you're supposed to be studying, you're supposed to be watching videos like this pertaining to the Most High, right? No other type of work. That's the only type of work that you're supposed to be doing this day. Right. So
Expiation
it
was
says
one of the words
expiation.
used. Con, go ahead.
Consulate. Go ahead, Ak. I was just gonna say because I thought you were pulling up the other definition.
Okay. The only reason I pulled it up is because it was one of the words used against the word reparation or expiation, which means the act of making amends or reparation for guilt or wrongdoing.
Khan. So it's the act of making amends for that wrongdoing for the sins that we have committed, right? So the Day of Atonement, right? When you put them both together, it's making up for the wrongdoings that we've done.
So Kippur, most solemn religious fast of the Jewish year, the last of the 10 days of penitence, Salakia, that begin with Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year.
Khan. So the Jewish New Year actually starts, and remember, Jewish meaning the fake Jews, the Revelation 2 and 9, Revelation 3 and 9 Jews. Their New Year starts on the seventh month of the Bible's year, right? So the seventh month, which obviously is important to the Most High, the number seven being the number of completion, right? The seventh month is very important, and that's why it starts with the blowing of trumpets, the first holy day in the seventh month, and then you have what we're keeping today. Some of us are keeping the Day of Atonement, right? And then we're gonna have later on this week. It starts the Feast of Tabernacles, right? So for the Jewish people, though, the seventh month starts the beginning of their year for whatever reason, right? They have their own ideology and their own reasoning behind that. But according to the Bible, it's the seventh month right now, right? But the point I wanted to make is Yom Kippur, which in the Paleo Hebrew it would be Yom Kippur because you just replace the vowels with an A, basically the same word. But it to them it says it's the most solemn religious fast for the Jewish year. And I read or somebody sent it to me, I think, that it said it's actually their most solemn and holy day of the year, right? So if they're taking it seriously and they're the fake Jews, right? We have to understand everything that their culture is built on has been stolen from the real Israelites of the Bible. So we should also be taking this day seriously, right? So I'm gonna go back up. So it said, "Ye shall afflict your souls," and we're gonna go over what that means because I had multiple people ask me today if we fast during this day because apparently there's a few different camps that teach you're just supposed to study basically like you keep it like a Sabbath. You study, you don't cook, you can eat but you can't cook, things of that nature. Salakia,
So
29.
verse 29. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people.
So the soul of them that aren't afflicted that day, that aren't making that atonement for their sins that day, are going to be cut off from his people, from Israel.
And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul I destroy from among his people. Looks like the brother went off. I'll continue reading through 31. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. 32 says, it shall be unto you. So, like, yeah, maybe the brothers turned off his camera. Can you hear me out?
Shalom. Can you hear me?
Um,
Khan, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. It cut off. I read 30 and 31.
Okay, Khan. So 31, you shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So, like we briefly went over a few lives ago, there was a sister that was teaching on Instagram, which that in itself already sounds bad, was teaching her thousands of followers that you don't have to keep the feast days anymore. As a matter of fact, the Most High hates when you try to keep your feast days, right? And she used Isaiah, the first chapter, and a few other verses out of context to try and prove that, right? But this says you're supposed to keep it as a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So this is something that we have to keep forever, as the Most High says.
Verse 32, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the ninth day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall ye be celebrate your Sabbath.
Con. So it says, it shall be a Sabbath of rest, right? So that's why in the previous verse it says, "Ye shall do no manner of work, no type of work, no working out, no going and working for money, nothing like that. And ye shall afflict your souls, right? In the ninth day of the month at even, from even to even is how you observe it, which is today at even till tomorrow. So if you could give me those verses in Isaiah, Baba Kashaw.
Con.
Shalom, Nakama. On the Day of Atonement, do the children fast too? Okay, so this is look, let me tell you what we do in my household, and then I'll kind of expound on it. So in my house, both of my daughters are thinking about um getting baptized soon, right? I'm not gonna push it on them or nothing like that, because that you're supposed to want to do it on your own through the Spirit. They both want to, and they said when they feel ready, they're going to, and they're studying, praying about it, etc. So am I. So them, they are old enough to know about the laws, statutes, commandments, the word. They have verses memorized. They keep the Sabbath, they keep the holy days, all of that. And one of them's 13, one of them's 11. Right? So both of them are keeping the Day of Atonement. Then I have my two younger daughters. I mean, my younger daughter and my son, my two youngest ones. My son is 4, and my daughter's 2. Right? So my son, who's 4 years old, we explained to him the Day of Atonement, and I mean, we explained it to my daughter as well, but she doesn't really understand. So what we told my son was, he was like, "Well, y'all can't eat, can't drink, things of that nature." Um, and we're like, "Do you want to keep it?" Right? It's one of the laws in the Bible that the Most High says we should do. So right away, his answer was, I'm gonna try to do it for," and he was like, "I'm gonna see how long I can not eat for Salakia." So in my house, this is how we do it. Now, some people will say you can't feed your children, blah blah blah. I've heard brothers say this before in the years past. Um, but I've heard that some brothers, I believe it was from Sakari, and this was years back, right? They got child protective services called to their house because one of their children who was under 5 was keeping they forced them to keep the Day of Atonement, and they ended up telling somebody they weren't letting them eat, etc. And they had CPS called to their house, right? So we always have to move in wisdom, and we always have to move in how would you say, according to the laws as well, in a sense, as long as it doesn't go against the Most High. So I would say it's not using wisdom to make a 2 or 3 year old keep the Day of Atonement, especially since that could be considered, um, child neglect and things of that nature, right? But like my son, all praise to the Most High, he's 4, and he's trying to keep it right now, right? So that would be up to you. I know you said you don't have a head, but depending on the age of your children, And again, depending on like how we went over the other day, I believe you were on that one as well, sister. How we talked about the flower of your age. When a young woman becomes a woman, and when she hits that flower of her age, it has to do with your period, but it also has to do with you're there mentally and can understand these things, right? What do you think about that, Ak? If you had children, how would you do that?
Like you said, I would be wise about it. You definitely don't want to cross any. Um, you don't want to create a situation where you're getting child protective services called on you. Use discernment. Always in sincerity. I thought it was awesome how before the live we usually get on and just kind of catch up, and Noah was right there with you, and you asked him. The brother's not just saying I told him and explained it to him just so he could say that to you guys live. Like before the live, the Noah was there and he usually says hi to me, and um, they asked him. He asked him what day it was. He's like, it's Day of Atonement. And then, what don't you do today? And he goes, brush my teeth. So that was like his first go to. But, he has an understanding of what's going on. Their form obviously is more innocent than ours. Um, their sacrifices are different than what we would deem a sacrifice. But, you always have to move in wisdom, understanding, and the Most High knows. He knows our spirit. So as long as you're moving in wisdom and sincerity, you can't go wrong. And it's good to instruct, like in Proverbs, it says, instruct your child in the way he should go, so he won't depart from his ways when he gets older. That's smart to do, because like if you're constantly practicing something, it becomes second nature. Especially for this next generation that is coming up. So I agree with you.
Con, most definitely. And that reminds me of a verse that we're gonna go over right now. It says that we're to be like repairers of the breach, so to speak, right? Because our great grandparents, our grandparents, our parents, they weren't teaching us this, right? And that breached that gap between us and the Most High. That made that relationship pretty much non-existent between us and the Most High, and that's what we're trying to do: train up our children and repair that breach in between us and our real nationality and our real people and our God, our power, right? So yeah, the water for that.
Counselor.
So we're gonna go ahead and start on verse 3.
So like, yeah, 58-3. Just pull it up here.
Con, go ahead.
Okay.
So yeah, the sister said she don't fully understand, but I try to teach her. So Khan, like the brother said, they're very innocent and they can't understand everything. They're obviously not as intellectually or mentally developed as us, but at the same time, just instructing them in the way that they should go, like he said, and using practicality. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Being practical about it, right? You can't expect a 2 or 3 or even sometimes even 5, 10 year old to fully understand it. It just depends how quickly they develop, right? So Salakia, go ahead.
This is Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 3. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast ye find pleasure, and exact all your labors.
Khan. So all the brothers and sisters that had asked me about do you fast on this day? It says here, wherefore have we fasted? Say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? right? So one of the ways that you afflict your soul, and if you really think about it, your spirit, your soul is too fast, because even Yahushua said that spirits go out by prayer and fasting, right? So if the spirits, if you got an evil spirit on you and you stop eating, you fast for a while, and those spirits are getting off of you because it's afflicting them, then it's obviously a way to afflict ourselves as well, especially if we're living in a gluttonous lifestyle, which we went over yesterday in the live as well, right? This is one of the ways that you afflict yourself, by fasting. And then it says, behold, in the day of our fast, in the day of your fast, ye find pleasure. So now this is one something to keep in mind anytime you're fasting, but especially today if you're keeping the Day of Atonement, because it is supposed to be considered the most important fast, because it's the fast that is commanded of us to keep, right? Whether you're keeping it today, whether you're keeping it tomorrow, next week, last month, whatever your understanding is on it, right? This the Day of Atonement is a fast that you're not supposed to be finding all these pleasures in, right? It says, in the day of your fast you find pleasure. So that's why, and just this is just to give you all an example, right? I'm not trying to be prideful or say this is, yeah, I did it like this, I do it like that, whatever. This is just to be set an example. So like in my house, we're not gonna be watching TV. We're not gonna be, I mean, we don't have any type of video games, nothing like that. But if we did, no video games, no, obviously no eating or drinking. You're not trying to find pleasure, because what we tend to do sometimes is we try to find something to take our minds off of what we're doing, right? Like I know a brother that had told me, um, he kept Sabbath, and then I was like, oh, how was it, whatever. And he said he how do you call it, where you watch a whole bunch of stuff on Netflix,
Binge
like binge
watch.
watched on Netflix all day. Con, exactly. So like that's not what you want to do on Sabbath, right? If Sabbath's supposed to be a holy day, a set apart day, and then you're gonna use the whole day to watch something that's unholy, that really doesn't make sense, right? So in this day, in this fast, we're not supposed to be looking to find different pleasures and things of that nature.
Verse 4. Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do these days, to make your voice to be heard on high.
Khan, Salaki, I just saw this precept. If you want to pull it up,
Matthew 17 and 21. Howbeit this kind
I mean,
goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting.
Khan, if you want to break it down,
Khan, yeah, how you said, especially if one of the strongholds or maybe one of the things that you deal with is gluttony, like we brought out on yesterday's live, is, how do we evict these spirits? How do we get rid of these spirits? One of the most powerful ways is through fasting. Obviously, we pray without ceasing, as Second Thessalonians say, but by fasting is also very powerful. So this is definitely one of the ways that I see as afflicting your flesh, afflicting your soul by fasting and ridding yourself of that pleasure. Especially if like the ox said, sometimes they'll be sitting around and just because there's food in the fridge, you can go and eat something. Um, it just makes the Day of Atonement that much more powerful, and something more dedicative, where you can dedicate that to the Most High, to learning, reading, praying, and fasting on top of that. It's like why wouldn't you want to partake in it in that manner?
Khan. That's a good breakdown on the water. That and like he said, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? That goes along with 1 John 5:3. That's how you love the Most High, by keeping His commands. We were commanded to do this Day of Atonement and not let it be grievous. It's a
Um,
day to build up your relationship and get closer to the Most High. Right. So let me go back. The brother had a question. I'll get back to your question right now. I just saw it. Let's finish with Isaiah real quick because we're just gonna go through it real quick.
Come. Verse 5. Is it such a fast that I have chosen? A day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to the Lord?
So what does that sound like it's talking about? The Day of Atonement, right? Is this a fast that I've chosen? The Day of Atonement is a fast He's chosen. A day for a man to afflict his soul. And remember, they were just talking about fasting, not eating, right? That's how you afflict. One of the ways you afflict your soul is it to bow down his head as a bull rush. When a bull rushes, it bows down its head, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him. They used to literally do that, right? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahweh? So let's take a moment if you're doing it and just examine yourself and just think, okay, what would be an acceptable day to Yahweh? It's supposed to be a holy day, right? And it holy meaning set apart, and just whatever the Most High puts on your spirit for that to mean, you got to run with that.
Verse 6. Is not this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke?
So this fast is supposed to be, since it's the fast He's chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, right? Whatever wickedness has a stronghold on you, has you bound, right? This is supposed to help loosen those bands, because you're not going to do that today, right? You should not be doing whatever type of wickedness you were doing yesterday or the day before, a week ago, whatever. You have to understand that this is one of the Most High's holy days. So doing that type of wickedness, even if it was a sin, it's like a double sin now, because you're breaking His holy day as well, right? So this is to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, whatever's holding you down today, or this week, or the past few days, months, whatever. You need to give it up to the Most High and concentrate on Him today, right? Let your burden be that you're fasting for Him instead of anything else that you've had on your mind, and to let the oppressed go free. And if you're oppressed by certain spirits, like the brother was bringing out in Matthew 17:21, when you fast, Yahushua said, fasting and prayer is how you get spirits off of you. So if you're being oppressed spiritually, mentally, by spirits, evil spirits, this can help you to go free from that. And that ye break every yoke, right? And a yoke, like a yoke of iron that they used to put on the slaves, whatever's holding you in that spiritual captivity, Most High willing, this helps you to break free from that.
Verse 7. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh?
So it says, is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, right? The bread of life is what we're dealing out right now, right? Because on the Day of Atonement, you can't eat, so we're not gonna literally be handing out bread, right? Not to say, here you go, Day of Atonement. We're gonna be dealing the spiritual bread, which is what we're trying to do right now through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house. So guess what? Right now, let me see. It says there's 12 people on here right now, right? They're not in our physically in me and the brother, right? the brother Jomar's house, but they are in a sense because we're all connected through this internet, right? And it says, "When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him." Okay, so when you get into that, oh man, and I'm glad that I read that right now because I've been wanting to do a lesson with you on breaking down Genesis because a couple people have asked about Adam and Eve and the garden and all that, the symbolic meaning, and that just reminded me because you know how it says they covered themselves, they made coverings for themselves, right? A lot of people don't understand what that means symbolically, but think about it this way: let's say you sin, right? Like how Eve did, and then what did they do? They made coverings for themselves. Okay, physically in the representation that it gives, I don't want to go too into detail. They made coverings of leaves or whatever to cover themselves, right? But they covered themselves by making excuses. That's how we cover ourselves, right? Like the Most High says, "I will uncover thy nakedness." That's talking about us in our sin and we're naked and we can't hide from the Most High, right? So when we see the naked, when we see people just living in their sin, naked before the Most High, and we are trying to cover them, we're trying to help them get covered by the Most High and by following these laws, statutes, commandments, precepts, right? And that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. How do we do that? 2 Corinthians 13 and 5, examining ourselves daily, right? A lot of people like to hide from themselves. And one of the ways I've been seeing a lot lately is they point out things in other people. Oh yeah, well this brother, this camp, this sister, blah blah blah. Well, you got to examine yourself before you even do that. Hide not thyself from thine own flesh, right? So in this fast as well, we need to be doing that. Pray, stay in prayer, and try to think to yourself, okay, what have I been hiding from myself? What have I not wanted to examine about myself? Right? Like I told the brother the other day about the whole gluttony thing. I told him about a week ago. I was like, hey, yeah, sometimes it's just like there's food there and I just eat. I'm not even hungry. So me personally, that's something I'm working on, and this is a good way to do it as well.
Con. Verse 8. Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee. The glory of the Lord shall be thy reward.
So then the light shall break forth as the morning. So what is the light? Proverbs 6 and 23. It says that the laws, the statutes, and commandments is the light, right? When you fast and you get all of these demons off of you, and then you can start coming to that light, you can start keeping this word better because you're getting these spirits off of you by fasting. And thine health shall spring forth speedily. So your spiritual health will spring up speedily if you get these demons off of you by fasting. But also, if you look in, if anybody can look into this later on when you have time. Just look into a 72-hour fast, and it tells you after 72 hours of fasting, your whole immune system regenerates, and your immune system will be better than it's ever been in your life if you can make it through that 72 hours. So literally by fasting, your health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee. Um, the glory of Yahweh shall be thy reward. So when you're living righteously and you get those blessings as a reward.
Verse 9. Then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, Here I am. If thou take away from the midst of the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity.
Come. So then shalt thou call, right? Once you've took all of these spirits and all of these things that are weighing you down, taking those spiritual yokes off of you. You loose the bands of wickedness, like it said in verse 6. You've taken these burdens off of you, right? And done all these things, and then you start following that light, following the word. Then you're gonna call on the Most High, and He's gonna answer you. Then you're gonna cry to Him, and He's gonna be there for you, right? He will take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, right? So I've heard brothers break this down in two different ways, and I'm not saying either one of them's right. I would actually say both of them were right, even though they broke it down differently. The putting forth of the finger, one of them was like putting forth of the fingers. You're always pointing fingers at everybody else, right? You're this person, this person, that, and it kind of goes into that. It said you need to examine yourself. Don't hide from yourself. And another brother said the putting forth of your finger is like you're putting your hands forth to commit all these sins. And I agree with both of those. Because the Most High, after fasting and getting these spirits off of you, you're going to be, in order to do that, you have to examine yourself more. And then when you do examine yourself more, you are going to stop doing those things as much and speaking vanity, speaking vain things.
Isaiah 58 and 10. And if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as the noonday.
Con. So if you draw out your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul. So again, the bread of life is like in a like Yahushua said in Matthew 4:4, we shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the Most High's mouth. That's how you really satisfy an afflicted soul, right? So what we're doing right now, studying and people congregating, whether it be with us, whether it be with other brothers, sisters, anytime you're spreading the word in sincerity and in truth, that's what you are doing. You're trying to feed the hungry and afflicted soul, right? And when you do this, then your light will rise in obscurity. Obscurity is like extreme, complete darkness. And thy darkness be as the noonday. All that darkness you were living in is going to be brought to the light. And again, the light being the law, again, the light being Yahushai, etc.
Con. 58:11. And the Lord shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones. And thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not.
Calm. So then the Most High will guide you, satisfy your soul in drought, right? Because think about it. If you can get through a day of not eating and drinking and leaning on the Most High and just using this day to pray to Him, to study, to get a closer relationship with Him, to examine yourself, etc. If you can do that in a physical, that's like a physical drought for your body. Then through that atonement, he will satisfy your soul more throughout drought, right? Whether it be spiritual, whether it be physical. And thou shalt be like a watered garden and a spring of water, um, which a good precept for that would be Psalm 1:1 through 3, how it talks about the tree, and we'll get into that later actually.
Verse 12. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in.
So like I mentioned earlier when the brother was talking about my son, for example, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to be that repairer of the breach, right? The restorer of paths to dwell in, which we know the straight gate, that narrow path, that's what we're striving for. And we lost it throughout our generations before us, and now we're trying to bring that back to ourselves and to our children, right? So let's read two more verses.
If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words.
So it says we have to if we turn away our foot from doing our own pleasures on the holy day. So again, going back to um, Day of Atonement, but also on Sabbaths in general, right? We shouldn't just be laying around all day. Well, I studied for 20, 30 minutes, so now I could just watch Netflix all day, right? That's not really setting apart the day. That's you are supposed to rest and things of that nature, but the Most High deserves more than a few minutes of your time, right? But going back to we read this earlier. This is in context talking about Day of Atonement. It says, "Shall ye celebrate your Sabbath?" This day is supposed to be like a Sabbath, right? So on this day, if you're turning your foot away from doing your own pleasures, right? And it says, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. That's how you're honoring him.
Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father. For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it.
So when we do these things, there is a promise behind it, right? When we delight ourselves in Yahweh, and that's like Psalm 37:5 says, delight yourself in Yahweh, and he'll give you the desires of your heart, right? So when we delight, this is one of the ways we delight ourselves in him by keeping the Sabbath holy, by keeping the holy days holy, which again, holy meaning set apart from wickedness, wicked places, wicked people, wicked movies, whatever you music, right? And he will cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father. So our heritage is the Bible. Our heritage is this word, right? As a matter of fact, if you want to get, I think it's Sirach 17 and 11, real quick.
Um,
And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, right? So if you read Psalm, let me go to that real quick, actually, while you get that. We read Psalm chapter 2 and verse 8. This is a verse that will get people very uncomfortable. This is Psalm 2 and 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Right? So this is talking about in the kingdom. And it says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. And when you look into that word heathen in the Strongs, it's 14 Strongs H 1471. It's goyim, right? Which is nations that are not Hebrew. So it says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Right? The kingdom will be on the earth, and that will be the possession. That's what it's talking about when it says, I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth. Um, Go ahead,
this is that the one? So okay. Sirach 17
Con.
and 11. Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an heritage.
Con. So that knowledge and this law of life, because it's like Moses said, I set before you life and death, blessings and a curse, right? That life is if you follow the Most High's laws, and death if you don't. So that is the heritage. That knowledge of the law of life is the heritage, right? And it says, one more time, it says, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father. We're gonna have that in us at all times in the kingdom. right? So let's get this one last verse and then we'll go on to another topic.
This is the book of Ezra, chapter 8, verse 23. So we fasted and besought our God for this, and he was entreated of us.
So, Most High willing, this is what happens to us after Day of Atonement. We are entreating the Most High for an atonement of our sins, for forgiveness of our sins, right? And the Most High willing, He will be entreated of us and will grant us that mercy, right? So, if there's any questions on this, y'all can go ahead and ask, and if
I have
not,
a
then
question. I have a
we'll keep
question for
moving.
you.
Go ahead.
Um, before the Day of Atonement, or even through, I would say before, just because we actually just started. For those observing, this goes for anyone in the comments as well that's watching. Um, uh, would you say that by any feast day that Satan, the deceiver, Hashatan, um, entices us to not keep the feast days, and what in what ways?
Khan, I would say definitely because one example is what I was talking about earlier. The sister that was saying and teaching. I mean, we don't have to keep the feast days anymore, right? And what was crazy to me is not that she posted that, and I mean, I'm sure I told you before. Like people send me stuff all the time, so I had brothers sending me, "Oh, look what she's saying," things like this, or tagging me in it, and that's not what really surprised me was her doing that, because, like you said, Satan doesn't want us to keep the feast days, the laws, etc. But what really surprised me was just looking at how many people would like and commented that I've seen keeping the feast days before. You know what I mean? So that just means that they're having, it's like the scriptures say that you don't want to be thrown about like with different winds of doctrine, right? We have to be established and firm in what we've learned. And so that was what really kind of took me by surprise, was like, man, there's a lot of brothers, because I was like, I wonder how many likes she has on this post, and I think it didn't have like the number on it. You know how you could put it so it doesn't show the number. And I clicked on it and I was like, man, this brother, I know they'd keep the feast days, and they were liking and even commenting like, Khan, that's right, sis, and like, what? But y'all keep the feast days. So that was what was crazier to me. But in other ways as well, I mean, I know a sister that was trying to keep the feast day, and because of some reasons she's not keeping it, or even trying to, which was what I said. I said, you know, you should at least try to keep it. And for whatever reason, she decided not to try to. So without getting into too much detail, he definitely tries to keep us away from that. Just like Christians try to keep us or pull us into, you know, Christmas,
Not keeping the law.
Thanksgiving, right? I didn't even know it was what was it, Columbus Day? Was it this Monday or last Monday?
It was last Monday, and I know because they we have to put signs up where I work, and they put national holiday. But in the area that I work with, I had people that um they had conversations with customers about what day is it. Oh, it's Columbus Day, and whole conversation sprouted from that. But I just try to stay away from all that.
Con, I didn't know, because I mean I was off of Instagram for a few days, maybe like 3, 4, 5 days. So I didn't even see anybody posting about it. And since I have my own little business, I
Yeah,
I don't keep no holidays or nothing like that.
come. The reason I brought up the scripture, I had brought this out earlier in one of my studies, and I'll just read it and then I'll say. So Second Peter 3:16 says, as also in all his epistles, talking about Paul, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other wrestle, Salakia, as they do other scriptures unto their own destruction. So how you were saying that some people teach um perhaps twisting other scriptures up to their own destruction, misinterpreting, or just not being learned, because a lot of these scriptures they're written to a people who have a clear understanding, or at that point in time, this was their heritage, their nationality. To us, some of us, we're completely new to it most of our adult lives, not really knowing too much of this. So we have to be very, very diligent in studying, because you could be on Instagram and then come across a video like that, and someone can twist the scriptures, and it could lead to your own destruction by means of being convinced or swayed to not follow a feast day, to not keep a law, or things of that nature.
Con. That's a good point. Con, and that's why we always have to pray. Like we read on the last one, I believe it's what is it? I think it's Sirach 37:15, to pray above all things that we're guided in truth by the Most High. Right? Because especially right now with social media and being what it is and the internet, it's very easy. You could look up a million different doctrines right now if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Con.
Right. So the brother Theophilus Williams, can we be with slash around our other Israelite brothers and sisters and study? Khan, if you could give me Hebrews 10:24 and 25, Baba Kashal.
Con.
Hebrews 10:24 and 25. Hey, shalom to the brother Nehemiah. Narrow path clothing. We are just talking about the narrow path a little while ago. Grace, mercy, and peace to you all. Hope the day of atonement went well, Israel. So Khan. Uh, uh, I'm personally and the brother observing it today, but I hope yours did it as well. I know you keep it around this same time. Um, Not understanding Colossians 2:16 and 17. Most Jakes think this means we don't have to do it. No more stumbling at Paul's writings. Calm. So that's the verse we kept alluding to a little while ago. Colossians 2:16 and 17, where it says not to let anybody judge you in observance of a holy day or Sabbath, because it's a shadow of things to come. And I've heard many brothers and sisters say the same thing. They think it means we don't have to keep the feast days anymore, which is far from the truth, right? What are the origins of Hallows Eve? That's a good question. I did you know what? Now, though, I think that was on my old YouTube channel. Basically, the origins of it is it was a Celtic festival in what's now known as Ireland. It was called Samhain Day, right? And it's a
Mm-hmm.
total pagan thing, man. But I'll do a brief video on it or something before, or what is in a couple weeks before it happens.
Common.
So this
Uh,
is to answer
okay.
the brothers. Salaki, go ahead.
Hebrews 10:24, and let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching.
Khan. So this is to answer the brother's question. Theophilus Williams said, "Can we be with or around other Israelite brothers and sisters and study?" I'm assuming you mean on the Day of Atonement or on Sabbath. It's actually supposed to be a holy convocation. A convocation. Actually, if you go pull up the definition of convocation,
Con.
in the Hebrew, it says like a public gathering or a public reading. is what a convocation is. So when you take the word holy and put convocation together, it is a set apart reading or studying of the word, right? So that's actually something we're supposed to be doing on the feast days, holy days, especially. So it says, "Let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works." That's what we're doing, trying to provoke each other to follow the word, right? Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. That's what we're doing right now, right? We're assembling ourselves together, and exhorting one another, right? We're pushing each other to keep the holy days, to keep the Sabbath, to keep the law, statutes, commandments, precepts to the best of our ability, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. So as we see the day approaching of Yahushai coming, Judgment Day, whatever you want to call it, we should be doing this more and more, right?
Convocation is a large formal assembly of people or the action of calling people together for a large formal assembly.
Con. So in the Hebrew, it's a little bit different, but even if you take this and assembly of people, right, or an action of calling people together, when it's a holy convocation, it's a set apart assembly, right? Meaning we're set apart from the world. It's not a bunch of people in here talking about who worldly things and weed and football and whatever you want to talk about. It's more holy, and we're talking about the Most High and His Word, right? So if you want to read that comment out,
Yes, for me, it's through my family. For example, today, as I'm keeping Day of Atonement, my fam wants to do a rosary for my grandpa because he's sick, and my parents seem to try to make me feel like a bad person for not attending. Con.
con,
Just to actually
and
to expound on that, if you don't mind, Doc, um, the reason I had asked was because same for me. You know, I'll give you testimony for those of you who are watching. Last year was my first time observing the Day of Atonement, and on the day that I was observing it, I had work. And last year was kind of um, it was very crucial for me because it tested my faith in that I had to make decisions to not go to work. So I did just that, and I didn't go to work. And that same day, there was a huge fire in my neighborhood, like a house down from where I live. There were so many distractions that day to keep me from staying in the scriptures because I had locked myself. I had locked myself in a study that we have, and I was trying to read. So that happened last year. It took away the majority of my day because the fire department actually came to my street, blocked off the street. Um, and this year as well, like Yolanda saying here that through her family, there's a lot of distractions keeping her from or trying to keep her from observing the Day of Atonement. Um, and especially with things of doing a rosary, which we know is idolatry. Sure, we empathize with Yolanda for what her family's going through because nobody wants to have a sick relative. But for someone to make you or guilt trip you into trying to do something on, especially on the Day of Atonement, is definitely a test of your spirit. Same with me, today. The reason I asked you actually was because personally, since yesterday leading up to today, to the Day of Atonement, I had so many situations. And I kid you not, one of them was even someone offered me money to go and go to the state fair because that's what's happening in Arizona right now. Um, I won't go into detail of what exactly transpired, but it's just situations like that that really test your spirit, um, to see how the deceiver can get you to break the holy days. So um, to observe it is something very special, especially If it's a holy day set before you by the Most High.
Con, most definitely. And for both of y'all, I could definitely see how that's Satan coming immediately. Like how it says in Mark chapter 4, how we always bring out. And I kind of
Uh,
had a similar situation where tomorrow I could have worked and I could have made probably a whole day's wage in maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours the most. But of course, like you said, keeping the holy days is more important than any type of worldly gain or riches that we could get.
Con
Let me post this precept real quick just to go along.
Proverbs 12:26. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them.
So the Most High, the more you're living righteously, following His word, He sees that as more excellent than those who aren't. Obviously, right? But the way of the wicked is going to try to seduce you, whether it be with money, whether it be with anything that they can possibly use against you, whether it be with, like the sister Yolanda said, trying to kind of not shame, how would you say, kind
Guilt
of
trip.
make you feel bad about it. Yeah, guilt trip you into it. Right, we always have to seek to please the Most High more than anybody else and more than ourselves. Right. um Theophilus Williams, thank you. Now, I was just told by my Israelite sis that the Day of Atonement has passed already. Now I'm new in understanding the truth. Okay, is that sister in the camp? Let me just ask you that. So we did a live, what was it, about a week ago,
Oh
about the
yeah,
new year?
the yeah. Better week.
Okay, Con. So if the sister's in the camp, I think she might be. The We did a live about a week ago, and it was about calculating the new year, right? And a lot of people have the new year off by a month. I won't go into too much detail because we're already an hour in and we really haven't even started the topic that I wanted to get to. But if you go ahead and watch that, it'll give you some insight and a better understanding on why a lot of people are off on not even the day, but the whole month, right? The season, right? Okay, she said, I believe so. The Sakari, I believe, is what she meant. So, Khan. They started their new year before the springtime started. I'll just say that. But if you want to check out that video, we'll definitely go more in depth on it to give you a better understanding. Right. So if you could get me a Revelation 3:15 and 16 on Baba Kashal.
Con
So now we're gonna talk about being lukewarm, right? Being lukewarm. So while he gets that, and I'm gonna send you a couple more verses out. While he's
con
pulling up some verses, let me ask y'all, since there's like 12 people with us, let me ask y'all, what do y'all think is an example of being lukewarm? I'm not asking y'all to say, "Oh yeah, this sister does this or this brother does that," but just give me an example. What does that mean to y'all? What is being lukewarm? What is one example of that? And you know what? The first example I'll go ahead and give, since we already covered it, when you're fasting, right? Like we read in Isaiah, if you're fasting but you're still seeking out other pleasures, that would be being lukewarm in your fast. That would be a half fast, right? Because you could be fasting from food, but let's say you're just watching TV all day, right? Or you're just hanging out with a bunch of your so-called friends all day while you're fasting, right? Or you go out and you're doing something, that you would consider pleasant or fun while fasting instead of building up that relationship with the Most High,
Con.
right?
If you want to go ahead, and if you want to take the time to post the scriptures on the private chat, I'll read some of the replies. Um,
Okay.
Mac Israel said wearing fringes and still not following commandments as the scriptures say. Okay, Khan. So let's say you got your fringes, border blue, four corners, you wear your zitzit, um, and then you decide to go shopping on Saturday with your fringes on. You know what I mean? That's definitely being lukewarm. In a sense, also doing a lot of things without self-examining. Pointing fingers. Um, a lot of things, like it says in Matthew, we shouldn't be like the heathen who pray just to be seen. And a lot of wearing fringes and still not following the commandments goes along the spirit of that law. The spirit of the law just meaning the 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 ideology behind it. The spirit of what that means. So wearing fringes and still not following commandments is definitely a way of you know um, being lukewarm. Theophilus Williams, by knowing what's right and still doing wrong, most definitely. Um, and a good category to have is a temptation category. If you don't do categories, um, just because you know what's right, you could still fall to temptation, which nobody here is perfect, and nobody would be surprised if anybody here falls to temptation. It's just constantly doing it and doing it and doing it and not repenting, which repenting means to turn away from your sin, to turn away and not do it. So Khan, uh, if you want to read the following ones, I'll go ahead and pull up the scriptures you posted here.
Okay, the water. So Ivan said, saying you do commandments and not applying them. Con, like I've known brothers and sisters. They're social media Israelites, right? They post about the commandments and about the word and things like that. But then you find out in real life they're not even applying them. Yolanda D. Example: Instagram is full of scripture, but being worldly offline. Okay, Khan, exactly what I said, right? You your Instagram page is full of scriptures, but then offline worldly, right? And I can attest to that personally because I used to associate with the brother that and even teach with the brother that would do just that, right? Post scriptures, and then on the weekend be smoking weed and getting drunk and hitting up nasty females that ain't his wife, and just doing all types of wickedness, pills and a bunch of different stuff. Nehemiah, Matthew 13:22. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the cares of the world of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. Calm. So I actually did a lesson about the different types of ground not too long ago. I think it was titled the first parable to learn, or the first parable, something like that. Because this is the first parable you should learn, right? You gotta know what type of ground you are being, so that you can be that good ground that brings forth the fruit, right? But this particular um, ground was that thorny ground, right? And it gets choked out. Those thorns, after the seed is planted, it gets choked out by all the cares of the world, right? All the cares of the world just choke out the word that was sown in their heart, and eventually nothing comes from it, right? So those are all good points. Um, and the whole wearing fringes one as well. Let me add to that. there's some people that wear fringes, but then at the same time, especially sisters, their clothes is very immodest, right? Very, very tight fitting. Like we were saying yesterday, actually, tight fitting clothes that leaves nothing up to the imagination. There's no point in putting fringes on a dress that's so tight that you could see the whole outline and every crack and crevice of your body. Right? That's being lukewarm and that's being double minded. Right? And the brother's gonna get some verses to go along with this as well.
Okay, Con.
I think there
Set
was
to do it.
another question up higher. I'm looking for it real quick. Mm, on your, you can see all the comments on your end too, right?
Con.
After a certain amount of time, when you go back up, does it not show all of them? That's what happens to me sometimes.
Um, I think it doesn't show yours because you might have left, right?
Oh, okay, Con, I got you.
Unless you're on the actual YouTube stream.
Okay. Now I'm on the StreamYard, but yeah, that makes sense. It's probably because I had to get off.
Hmm.
'Cause I thought I had missed a question, but it's all good. Um, Aaliyah Mejorado says, "Con, I see sisters with jeans wearing fringes." Con, that to me, that's just crazy. That's crazy. You'll see sisters with jeans, or even just as worse, with tights, right? But then they got fringes on. That's insane to me. If that's not double minded, I don't know what is. But hey, some of your favorite camps, some of the best known camps out there say that you can wear jeans, tights, whatever, as long as they're made for women.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified.
So going along with what one of the brothers brought out, um, those that know the word and that hear the word, or even can be studying and reading the word, right? It doesn't matter if you're not applying it. Like you said, the doers of the law are going to be justified in the Most High's eyes, right? It wasn't Yahushai, who we know was the perfect example. He wasn't the perfect example because he was always speaking scripture, right? Because he knew scriptures. Because even the devil knows, right? Even the Pharisees know. It was because he was being a doer of the law, a doer of the word.
First John 2 and 29. If ye know that he is righteous, ye know that every one that doeth righteousness is born of him.
So we know that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is righteous. Like I just mentioned, Yahushai being the only one that was righteous to live. So if we know that, right, then everyone who is striving to do righteousness is born of him, right? And when you read Romans, the 6th chapter, and how it talks about being dying and being born in Yahushai, in Hamashiach, right, through the baptism, and then it goes on and it says, let sin no longer reign in your body, right?
So,
So when you get baptized, that is what we strive to do. We strive to live out and do that righteousness because we are being born of him through baptism.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
So the law, statutes, commandments, judgments, we're commanded to do them wherever we go, right?
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
So it says, keep them, right? Keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And this is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. Right? This is how we have wisdom, by keeping the commandments.
For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? Salakia. And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
So it says, what nation is there so great, right, that has God so nigh unto them? Because remember that Israel is a chosen nation, right? And according to Malachi, what is it, 3 and 6, the Most High does not change. They are still his chosen nation, right? So he is closer to us than anybody else. And it says, what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, right? So why are we bringing out this precept? Because it says the law is righteous. The statutes and judgments are so righteous. All this law is so righteous, right? So 1 John 2:29, if ye know that he is righteous, ye know that everyone that doeth righteousness is born of him. How do we do righteousness? By following in Yahushai's footsteps, and by following what it says here is righteous, which is all this law, right? So some people in the Christian church will tell you all you got to do is be kind, or be nice to people, just love everybody. And when they say love everybody, they don't mean keep the commandments. What they mean is just be nice to people, right? But that's not how you be righteous. The law is righteous. Yahushua is righteous. Yahushua kept the law, which is righteous. So in order for us to strive for righteousness, it's keeping the law, right? Which, going back to what the brother had originally said, is knowing the commandments, saying you do the commandments, but not applying the commandments, right? Knowing is not going to do anything for you if you're not applying.
James 2:17. Even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone.
So I'm sure everybody is familiar with that verse, right? Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works.
So somebody could say, I have faith, right? Or they could say, you have faith, and I have works. So let's just pretend, for example, the brother Jomar says, he's like, oh, you have faith? He asked me, right? And I say, yeah, I have faith. And he's like, do you have faith that this system is going to collapse? And I say, oh, yeah, I know it's going to collapse. And then the brother he has works to go along with that faith. He's like, yeah, I got a backup plan. I got some, I got chickens. If the system goes down, I got this. I have a family I have to take care of, etc., etc. He has things, he has works to go along with that faith. Just using that as an example, right? But also, like the brother had said, you can have faith in the word, you can know all the precepts, but if you're not following them, without following them, all of your faith, all of your knowledge is dead.
Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe, and they tremble.
Con. So if the devils believe in the Most High, that doesn't mean they're making it to the kingdom, right? So just like everybody who says they have faith in the Most High and they don't have works, the righteous works, right? Rehearsing the righteous acts, trying to follow the word, the law, statutes, commandments, precepts. You're just like the devils, right? You probably are a devil, a deceiver.
But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead?
Faith without works is dead.
Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he hath offered Isaac his son upon the altar?
So he had faith in the Most High, right? But he also had to offer up Isaac on the altar. He literally had to offer him up. That is the work that he put in.
Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect?
So through that faith, it wrought works. That's what we all have to understand, especially when it comes to being lukewarm or anything. You can have faith, but real faith will rot works. It will bring forth works. The example I always use is if I told you, hey, I heard this dude, he said he's going to rob your house tonight. Like I heard him. He was he was like, hey, Jomar, he lives in Arizona. This is his address, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go rob him. And you believed me. You had faith that that was true. Would you just be chilling and just, oh, okay, just any night? Of course not, right? It would be, okay, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to get a gun ready. I'm going to be up on my roof. Or I'm going to call some people. I'm going to call backup. Maybe someone's going to call the cops, right? But it's going to rot. It's going to bring works if you truly believe in something.
And the scripture was fulfilled, which said, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God.
Shoot, wouldn't that be cool? We get to be called the friend of the Most High.
Incredible.
Con, Most High willing. So the scripture was fulfilled, which said, Abraham believed the Most High. You have to believe. See, the reason, and I've said this many times before, the reason why many people know of things, but they don't do them, they know of the laws, but don't do them, is because they don't really believe the Most High. They don't believe that, okay, they look at it like this from a negative context. Man, if I keep the Sabbath, then I can't go out and hang out with my friends or do what I want to do. Instead of believing the Most High and seeing it as, if I keep the Sabbath, I get blessed by the Most High in some way or another. They don't really believe that. They don't really believe that the Most High is going to bless them for keeping the laws. Like it says in Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. All these blessings shall come upon you. People don't really believe that. But Abraham believed it.
Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only.
Right? So faith plus works. We're not saying, oh, because we're so righteous and we keep these works, we're going to make it to the kingdom. You have to have faith and works.
But ye be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
So you're deceiving yourself if you think that you can just hear the word. Even the people that are on here right now, that are on here live, or if you're watching this later on and you're seeing it, right? If you think that just hearing this is going to make you a friend of the Most High, is going to make you or help you make it to the kingdom, just by hearing it, you're deceiving your own self. Only through applying it are you going to help yourself.
James 1, verse 23. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, He is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass.
So if you're a hearer of the word, right? If you're hearing it right now, but you don't apply it, if you've heard the word before, that's probably the perfect example. Not to get off topic real quick. For me, when I asked y'all what's being lukewarm, I know certain, I won't even say brothers and sisters, I'll say Israelite men and women that have known they're Israelites for months or years and years and years, but they're still not applying the word, right? But they claim to be Israelites, or they'll tell people, "Did you know we're Israelites?" But if you're not keeping the word and being a doer of the word, that's, you can't get more lukewarm than that. There's people that have been, like I said, in the truth for years, or known of the truth for years. Like, how much grace do you expect to keep receiving? Right? But I'll digress on that. So it says, if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man, like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. Right? So looking, imagine you're looking in a glass or in a mirror, right?
James 1 and 24. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was.
Some people, the ones that hear the word but they don't do it, that's like they're looking in the mirror, right? And then he beholds himself, like what we were talking about earlier, examining yourself. Day of Atonement, you should be examining yourself every day in reality, but even more so on Day of Atonement, right? Because you're asking for forgiveness. You have to know what to ask for forgiveness for. So you have to behold yourself spiritually, right? So it says, "For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was." You hear the word, then you don't want to do it, so you stop doing it. Let's say you examined yourself. Man, I really need to get myself in order. I'm an Israelite. I didn't even know that. Now I know that. I need to keep the laws. But then you don't want to do it. You go your own way and you forget. You forget, in a sense, that you're a chosen people. Because, like, I know the majority of us have had that realization of, damn, I'm actually an Israelite. The curses match up with everything me and my people are going through, etc. And then later on, you go your own way and forget what manner of man you were. You forget you're a chosen people.
But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed.
Calm. So it says, if you're not the ones that are just hearing the word and not doing it, if you're looking into the perfect law of liberty, right? And I'm sure everybody's, or almost everybody's heard the law of liberty. It means that the new law is you have liberty. You can do whatever you want, right? Wrong. John 8 and 32, what does it say? The truth will set you free, right? Is the law the truth? Anything that comes from the Most High is the truth, right? And that gives you liberty. That gives you liberty. It gives you freedom from all of the things that we read about in Isaiah 58. That oppression, those bands of darkness that are holding on to you, right? By keeping that law, it gives you liberty and freedom from all of these things. And continue with therein, and you continue in it, he being not a forgetful hearer. You don't just forget. A brother tells you, the brother Jomar tells me, "Hey, Ak, I saw you were eating this. Did you know it has pork in it?" And I'm a forgetful hearer, and tomorrow I'm posting myself eating it, right? But a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. And all the way since the law, since the Torah, how do you be blessed? By keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? Again, Deuteronomy 28, 1 all the way through 14. All the blessings that will come upon you if you keep the law. Right? So we can't be, like it says, the type of man that just looks in the mirror and goes his own way and forgets what type of person he was.
John chapter 15 and 14. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you.
Con, con, and that's red letter, right? So, going back to, let me see. But you know what? If you want to get me Hebrews 2 and 4 up,
Con.
Hebrews 2 and 4, and I'm gonna write the other one in here. Proverbs. I wanted to piggyback off of that last verse in James. I'm gonna read this while the brother gets it real quick. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. Right? I'm sure we've all examined ourselves before, but even further than that, examined who we were before the truth. Right? And we've thought to ourselves like, man, or you should have at least thought to yourself like, man, all the things I did, the Most High had mercy on me. I need to get my act together. Right? Then it said, for he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. So I'm gonna kind of precept this along with it real quick.
Con. This is Hebrews chapter 2, verse 4. God also bearing them witness, both with signs and wonders, and with diverse miracles and gifts of the Holy Ghost, according to his own will.
So the Most High has all, I'm sure all of you who are on here, and me and the brother as well. And if you want, you can comment just a short, brief account of it. I'm sure we've all had a moment where the Most High has given us a sign, and you're like, man, I know that was the Most High. Whether it be a dream, whether it be like how you were saying, Knock, how you ran into the Native American and the so-called black dude that it was just the perfect timing, got to talk about the scriptures, or even how when
Con.
you went to California,
Yeah. Con.
we've
Yeah.
all had those moments happen. So to go along with James chapter 1, it says, those that are hearers of the word and not doers is like someone looking in the mirror, right? Like, think about it. If you look yourself in the mirror, you have to be able to say, if you've been in the truth for any period of time, the Most High shows people signs. I guarantee you, there's been at least one moment where you're like, man, that was the Most High right there. We can't be like those people that see those things and then just straight away just forget about it. You go your own way, right? Because that is being lukewarm as well. That's definitely being lukewarm. Knowing the Most High gave you a sign and then just walking away from it, doing your own thing.
Proverbs chapter 1, verse 24. Because I have called, and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded.
So one of the ways that the Most High calls us and stretches out His hand is through these different signs. And if you know that it was a sign from the Most High and you don't act on them, then you are refusing when He calls, and you are not regarding Him when He stretches out His hand to you, which is what? Being lukewarm. That's like saying, oh, yeah, I know you gave me this sign, Most High, but I'm not going to act on it.
But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof.
So you didn't want none of His counsel. You didn't want none of His corrections. Because a lot of times those signs happen in order to correct us, right? Whether it be through dreams, whether it be through something happening, and the Most High reveals something to you, He tries to correct you, but you don't want it, right? So again, that is being lukewarm. And what happens when you don't want those things,
I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh.
then when your calamity, when your downfall, when your fears come upon you, like it also says in Isaiah, I believe it's 66 and 4, says he will bring your fears upon you. He's not going to care because he gave you the signs, because he called you, right? That's that many are called, few are chosen. He called you and called you and called you, and you knew he was calling you, and you knew he was giving you signs, but you didn't want it. Nehemiah, me and you had an encounter concerning a post you made on Instagram. Um, Salaki, if I don't remember exactly, but um, a lot of a lot of people reach out to me. Are you saying that as if like a sign? Is it what I'm guessing you're saying, right? So while he replies, I'd say another one that I've seen is being lukewarm, is keeping the Sabbath, but then people don't want to keep the holy days. I've ran into brothers and sisters that happens. Like you keep the Sabbath, yeah. Well, what about the holy days? Oh no, like we don't do that, or we don't believe you have to keep those anymore. But if you read Leviticus 23, or what is it, Numbers, I think 29, it's all in order. It says these are the feasts of the Most High, right? As a matter of fact, if you can get Leviticus 23 and 1 through, let me see, 1 through 4, Baba Kasha.
Come.
I know that that one's not as that doesn't happen as often, but that's one thing that I've definitely seen, and it really doesn't make sense to me. If you're gonna keep the Sabbath and it's in the same chapters that's talking about the holy days, then why wouldn't you keep the holy days as well, right? Okay, so the brother said, yeah. So yeah, that happens a lot. Or you know what? Was that just recently? That happens a lot where someone will say, you know what, like this is confirmation or something like that with one of the posts I post, and that's all the Most High, right? Isaiah 55:11 is what I always say. His word goes out and it accomplishes whatever he wants it to.
This is Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
So Leviticus 23, and we've gone over this more before, but these are the feasts of Yahweh, right? Going to be holy convocations. We come together, you read what we're doing right now, right? Even these are my feasts.
6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
So the first holy day that the Most High talks about is the Sabbath. But then he goes on through, you read the whole chapter and it goes starts naming off the feasts or the holy days.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
And going back to like 2 or 3 lives ago, we did about the season marking the new year, right? These are the feasts and holy convocations which you proclaim in their seasons, right? So in their seasons. And this season that we're in right now, according to marking the going by the sun, the moon, the stars, everything, not just that, but the word, of course, is the seventh month, right? So that being said, just going along back to what I was saying, it's crazy to me that there's some brothers and sisters that keep the Sabbath, but not the holy days, right? And it's understandable when you first come into the truth, because I could tell you the first. probably the first whole year, because we've been keeping the feast days for 4 years, but I've known of the truth for a little over five. At the beginning, the holy days isn't what you learn right away. You know what I mean? It's like your Israel, maybe fringes, Sabbath, don't eat pork, shellfish is that's more of the things you learn coming in. So it's understandable at the beginning, and it's all in the Most High's timing. But like I said, if you're one of the people that says we don't keep the feast days or we don't have to keep the feast days, that really doesn't make sense, because in Leviticus 23 it says these are my feasts, and it names off all the feasts, and it starts with the Sabbath, right? So that would be definitely another example of being lukewarm. You want to read that out?
Con. Mac Israel says, I dreamt I was working as a landscaper with an older Hispanic man for the elites, and I asked him why the world is so evil now. And he said, because the world doesn't have the true Jesus in their hearts. I woke up shocked. After that dream, I had another where a monkey with a rotten face was trying to attack me for knowing the truth. Wild Doc. Woke up in tears. My rib remembers.
Um, so there's, I believe the lesson is still up that I did about dreams, and it might still be up. I think it's on my channel. Um, but Ecclesiastes, the fifth chapter, I can't remember exactly which verse, but it says, in the multitude of dreams, there are, how does it go? There's many diverse vanities, or many words and diverse vanities, right? And then it says, but fear Yahweh. So anytime, like for me, for example, I've had a lot of people ask me about dreams and things of that nature. The first thing I'll ask them is, okay, the water out.
Gone. This is Ecclesiastes 5 and 7. For in the multitude of dreams and many words, there are also diverse vanities. But fear thou Yahweh.
Calm. So there in we all have many dreams, right? Anytime you go into REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, you dream, right? There's a lot of times we don't remember it, but like it says here, Solomon said, in the multitude of dreams and many words, there are also diverse vanities. Diverse meaning many different ones. There's many different vanities, things that are vain that don't really mean anything, right? And sometimes we put too much thought to them. But he says, but fear thou Yahweh. So I always tell people, if the dream made you fear the Most High, then that's definitely something that comes from the Most High. Because think about it, why would Satan or an evil spirit or something like that make you, or want you to fear the Most High? Right? If anything, it's the opposite. He wants you to fear anything besides the Most High.
Con
Right? And
and
what
most,
also, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I would say that most of the time, I would say, if not most of the time, for the majority of the part, you would know when a dream um comes from the Most High, or if you invoke the name of the Most High in your dreams. I know it's happened to the brother. I know it's happened to myself, where you invoke it and the name does not, is invokes power, is effective even in your dreams. Me personally, I've had that happen in dreams. I also had, when he brought out diverse the signs and wonders. I had a brother who I had a conversation with my mom's one day, and we were in the kitchen, and it was a conversation about the truth, and the conversation was very, let's just say, productive. Was I could see the seed um being planted and sprouting by the way that my mom was responding to it. It was a very fruitful conversation, let's just put it that way. And right after that conversation, I disclosed that information to somebody, and I had a conversation about that. I was like, isn't it cool? Like, man, that's so cool. The Most High is definitely, doing this thing. When I'm talking to her, I could feel the Most High Spirit. Later that same day, not even like 2 hours later, I had somebody call me, someone who's in the truth, a brother, and he said, "Hey, how you doing?" And then he said, I have a question for you. How's your mom? And I just, I, was, I was like, oh, she's good. She's good. Thanks for asking. What you ask? He's like, I don't know. I had like this vision of you and your mom in a kitchen talking. So I just wanted to know how you guys are doing, and that just kind of like gave me goosebumps. And I was just like, all praise. I couldn't do anything but say all praises to the Most High. I was just laughing, but you'll know when it's Most High. You'll know when the Most High is dealing with you. um the Most High is not the author of confusion, so you just got to open your spiritual eyes more and allow him to work in your life. And one of the ways of doing that is, of course, following the laws, being the light, which we know the light is the law, and following to the best of your ability, sincerely and with humility. And that's how you get to recognize his voice more clearly, than prior to you following laws and commandments.
Most definitely the water for that out.
Con,
And like the brother said, it's all through discernment. The Most High gives you a lot of discernment, um, when you're sincere and when you're starting to follow Him. Because that's definitely a huge blessing. Discernment is a huge blessing. I want to go ahead
con,
and read this real quick.
yeah, yeah. Job 33. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed, then he opened the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose, and hide pride from man. He keepeth back his soul from the pit, and his life from perishing by the sword.
So sometimes the Most High speaks to us in a dream, right? When we fall asleep, and He opens up the ears, the spiritual ears of us, and seals our instruction, gives us instructions, right? That He may withdraw man from His purpose. So we can get away from our purpose, get back to His purpose, and hide pride from man. Pride is the beginning of sin, right? So get us away from sin. He keepeth back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. So when like the brother said, you'll know through discernment, and also like Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 5:7, if it makes you fear the Most High, that is a surefire sign to know it's from the Most High, right? So the dream, which one was it? This one. I woke up shocked after that dream. I had another where a monkey with a rotten face was trying to attack me for knowing the truth. I woke up in tears. My rib remembers. So most definitely, I mean that could be really spiritual. Um, if you could give me Ezekiel 31 and let me see, look it up on my phone. 31 and 2 through 6.
John.
Ezekiel 31, 2 through 6, the water. Because I mean, and that's something that I like to do as well. When it comes to dreams and stuff like that, when people tell me certain things, I mean, even when people are talking, it's like me and the brother Jomar have talked about many times. When you hear something or you hear someone say something and verses just start coming to you, you know what I mean? You're seeing things through a biblical lens. That's one thing I like to do with dreams specifically too. So you said that a monkey with a rotten face was trying to attack me for knowing the truth. So we already know there's a bunch of precepts that come to mind, but we know that we're to be hated and you know chastised by people, society in general, for the truth, right? But when it comes to the monkey with the rotten face, that just reminds me of like a beast of the field, right? Which we know Esau and all the people in charge of this system are like beasts of the field, right?
Ezekiel 31 and 2. Son of man, speak unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, and to his multitude, whom art thou like in thy greatness?
So speaking of the Pharaoh of Egypt at this time, saying that he's great.
Behold, the Assyrian with was a cedar in Lebanon with fair branches, and with a shadowing shroud, and of an high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs.
And this is fresh in my mind because I was thinking about doing that lesson that I was telling you about Adam and Eve, right? So this is a little preview or sneak peek into that as well. So it says, "Son of man, speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt," right? So now it's talking about the Assyrian, right? He was a cedar in Lebanon with fair branches. What is a cedar? It's a tree, right? And with a shadowing shroud and of a high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs. So it's saying he was like a huge tree, right? Of a high stature. But it's talking about a man, it's talking about the Assyrian.
Salakia. You know why I'm laughing is I'll read this just promptly. I just wanted to say, um, I feel like we're on the same accord because just a couple days ago, I was going over. I had made it mentioned that I was gonna do a study on Adam and Eve and the story of origin, and I think I know where your line of thought is with the trees and whatnot, but um, all praises to the
Con.
Most
When
High just
when
for
when were you talking about that?
what's that?
Salakia. I just said when were you did you post about that or what
Nah, 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 nah. I was talking about that with the lady I'm courting, and I was just saying, hey, look, I didn't really want to go into detail about too much of the philosophy behind it or the ideology of it, but I made it mention. I was like, soon I want to have a conversation about Adam and Eve, the story of origin, um, and the I guess the spiritual sense of what the story is trying to convey, rather than just two people that were naked. You know what I mean?
Con.
And
Con. The
Ezekiel
Most
was
High
one of
loves
the
putting us up on the court.
yeah, Ezekiel was one of the precepts that Ezekiel was one of the precepts that I had written down.
Con. All praises.
So this is
Con. Because if
Ezekiel.
you
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I
Salakia,
want
go
to
ahead,
hear
go
this.
ahead.
Okay.
Okay, no, I was just gonna say that it's funny because most people don't understand that Hebrew is a very poetic and symbolic language, right? It's like remember when we went over Lamentations and we went into the Hebrew.
Oh yeah, for not the numerology, but the way
It's
they're
basically
numbered.
a form of it, right?
Con.
So it's written in poetic form. It's literally written like poetry. So when
Mm-hmm.
you take things at face value, I guess, or you just don't see it symbolically, then you're gonna miss half of it, right? It's like they said about Yahushai. He
Con.
spake in a parable. Without a parable spake he not. He always spoke in parables, right? And Salaki to talk over you. There's a little bit of a delay.
You're good. You good. Ezekiel 31 and 4. I was just pulling it up on my scriptures. The waters made him great, and the deep set him up on high, with her rivers running around about his plants, and set out her little rivers unto all the trees of the field.
So long story short, those waters, that's the doctrines and everything that he's teaching and that he does, his customs, etc., that are making him great, right? And what do you do when you're a pharaoh or a king like he was, right? That's what you do. You spread whatever it is that you believe in,
Therefore his height was exalted above all trees of the field, and his boughs were multiplied, and his branches became long because of the multitude of waters when he shot forth.
Khan. So he was great. His branches and his reach, so to speak. Because what happens with any king, they always want to expand their kingdom, right? Like look at the United States, for example. We got military bases in like over 100 different countries. Why? Because we want power. Nobody Power is one of those things that it's never enough. You just want to keep reaching and reaching and reaching, and that's what it's talking about with his branches becoming long.
All the fowls of heaven made their nest in his boughs, and under his branches did all the beasts of the field bring forth their young, and under his shadow dwelt all great nations.
So when it's talking about the fowls and the beasts of the field, it says they were of all great nations, talking about people, right? So just to touch on his dream, it just reminded me of that since it was fresh in my mind of how he said there was a monkey with a rotten face, right? And that monkey or beast can represent a person or people in general. If they have a rotten face, that says something to the effect of it's eroding or rotting. And when you think of this society in general, right, which is ran by beasts, it is rotting and eroding all around us, right? The
Con,
government, the system in general of how we um, receive and live, receive things and live, like the trucking situation and the whole just how we live off of everything, food and stores and electricity. There's power shortages, there's food shortages, everything is rotting and eroding around us. And us that know the truth and try to spread the truth are being attacked on highly on the spiritual level, but as well, I mean verbally. People, if you know the truth, people attack you and want to cast you out for the Most High and Yahweh's namesake as well, right? So that's just my little take on that dream. But for you to wake up in tears, there's only like two dreams I've ever had that's happened. I woke up in tears as well, and I remember those two. And I would definitely say just take that as a sign, like we read Hebrews 2 and 4. The Most High gives you signs, and if you don't act on them, what is that? That's being lukewarm, right? So we can't be to the best of our ability, try not to be lukewarm. Voracious, shalom, shalom, Ak.
shalom.
So anything else you could think of, Ak, that's lukewarm? I got a couple other ones written down, but
No, I really like the example that the brother put up earlier about, um, the wearing of the fringes and still deciding to, not follow the laws, being unrighteous. That I would say would probably be one of the most common ones. Um, the outwardly righteous versus
con,
actually working towards bearing the fruits of the spirit.
con. If you want to get that too, Numbers 15:38 through 40, 15:38 through 40. Because yeah, that is a common one that if you got fringes on, you have to understand that there's a purpose for wearing the fringes, and by you just wearing them and not acting off of that purpose or assuming the position of that purpose is definitely being lukewarm, double-minded, just being wicked in general.
Okay. Come on. Numbers 15 and 38. Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
Okay, Khan. And I didn't even think about it until right now. Um, but I'm just gonna mention this. I was gonna do a short video months ago, and I totally forgot. I haven't even talked to you about it, but basically, there's a lot of companies and a lot of even Israelites that sell fringes, right? But a lot of them are selling fringes that are mixed, like 50% cotton, 50% polyester, right? So that really, you would have to say that's one of Satan's devices right there. Because if you know the law, it says you're not supposed to be mixing those types of
Mm-hmm.
fabrics together. And for there to be even Israelites, like if you go to Hobby Lobby, it's all 50-50, 50% polyester, 50% cotton. You look online, some of the brothers and sisters, it'll say 100%, which good. That's that. It should be 100%. But then there's others that it's not 100%, right? And then another thing is, if it is 100% polyester, let's say, right, and then you have 100% cotton clothing, isn't that mixing fabric?
Con.
If you're sewing it onto your garment and making it one, right? So that's another something to look at. And me personally, what I used to have, I used to really like those fringes that everybody sews on their clothes now. But me personally now, I really like to just have the natural fringe off of the shirt, which is you just cut it. It's way easier. And if you look at Native Americans, it's not like they were okay. Let me go buy some fringes at the store and those fancy those gold ones. They all they would
Con.
do was cut their clothes and make a border of blue. And to me, it looks cooler too. After you wash it and you dry it a couple times, it gets like real stringy. So me personally, that's what I like to do. And you know it's the exact same material.
Con. Numbers 15 and 39. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a whoring. Salakia. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them. I think the brother went mute. Can't hear him. Can you hear me out?
Salakia, Salakia. Khan, it was on mute. Can you hear me?
Khan.
Okay, Khan. So yeah, the purpose of them is so that you may look upon them and remember the commandments. Right? So like I've said before, it's like say you're about to go smoke some weed and you got your fringes on, right? And then like the sister just posted in the comments, if you smoke some weed, it's kind of like, man, you might as well just take off a fringe, right? It's like you're giving into witchcraft. And then also it's idolatry because you're putting that over the most high. You just take a couple of them off, cut them off. The whole purpose is so that you can remember the commandments, right? And
Khan.
that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a whoring. And this could be literally a whoring, as in you're going to go and commit fornication and fulfill your lusts, or it could be just cheating on the Most High. Because obviously, by wearing fringes, you're saying or trying to make a statement that I am a part of the Most High's people. I'm a part of the church, which, like it says, is the bride of Yahushai, right? So in reality, you're whoring and cheating on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai by going out and doing all these things.
that ye may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your God.
And we're supposed to, this is supposed to remind you that you're supposed to be holy to the Most High. Again, holy meaning set apart, consecrated, hallowed, right? You're setting yourself apart visually, because people see you with the ribbon of blue and the fringes, and that sets you apart visually. But then if you're still doing these things that they do in the spirit, it's like the brother was saying, like in your spirit, you're not set apart. You have anything you want to add on that?
Nah, you're good at the bottom.
Okay.
I've also seen brothers with fringes on posting pics of them smoking joints or blunts more than once. Lukewarm, facepalm, con.
Con, con. I've seen the exact same thing. And you know what? To be honest with you, I've ran into more than a handful of brothers like that and reached out to them. And from my experience, there hasn't been not one brother that will take correction on that. Because I know from experience smoking weed for 14 or 15 years that that does become your idol. You wake up and you want to break up some weed and smoke. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. Now that I'm in the truth, the first thing sometimes before I even open my eyes, I just start praying. Why? Because that is my God. But when I was not in the truth and smoking weed, weed was my God. Because, like I said, first thing I want to do, smoke some weed. If I was
Hmm.
going to go to school to practice MMA, to do anything, I had to get stoned first because that was my God. Right? It's like anything, and that's like how they say the proof is in the pudding. Because anything that I would do that I saw as important, I would have to smoke weed first. Now that I'm in the truth, anything that I'm gonna do that's important, I pray first. So that just shows you how you idolize weed, or how I did, and how many people do.
Con. I saw a video where a sister say the ribbon is actually purple but looks blue.
There's some people that believe it's like a violet, but if you go into the blue letter and into the Hebrew and stuff, there's like a certain manuscript or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. That it says violet, but it's not in the Hebrew. But I've ran into some people like that as well.
I see some people wear shirts with fringes and wear hoodies over them. Is that appropriate?
What do you think about that?
I mean, is your hoodie 100%?
Con
Or are you or maybe
and
you're asking about the angle where you're wearing your fringes but you wear your hoodie over it to hide your fringes, you know? What's the spirit of your reasoning?
con. That's a good point. Because a lot of people, you can't be ashamed. It's like Yahushua said, if any man's ashamed of him, he's gonna be ashamed of you,
Hmm.
right? Okay, Theophilus said yes to
Oh,
hiding.
yeah. I mean, come on. Um, might as well not even wear them. That's definitely lukewarm.
Con, lukewarm, double-minded, wicked, right? So another one I want to touch on real quick. Um, I'm gonna put them in the private chat because it's a couple verses. Is there's certain brothers, and I'll even say it's from certain camps, right? Some of the biggest camps, and they all come from the same. They break off from the same from ISUPK, right? Two or three camps that I've ran into, and they all say the same thing. If you correct them with something, right? Let's say they're doing something, and you try to correct them, they'll say, okay, well, what law did I break? Right? Give me something in the Torah that says I broke a law, or show me what law I broke. And then you can provide for them two, three, five, 10 precepts that clearly show that they were in the wrong, according to the scriptures, right? Not according to what I or someone else believes. But let's say you have five scriptures, 10 scriptures from any other book past the Torah, right? Whether it be Psalms, Proverbs, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, the Apocrypha, or even Yahweh's own words, or the letters of Paul. And they'll say, okay, well, what commandment did I break? Right? So we have to understand that as believers of Yahweh and Yahushai, of the Most High, and his son, our Messiah, believers of the word, we are supposed to be trying to keep the word to the best of our ability, right? The entire book to the best of our ability. So the sister said they don't like to be corrected, but they'll try to correct you and belittle you. Khan, that's I've seen that many times. I can attest to that. Not everybody, because like I've said before, there's people I know sincere brothers that I've talked to in almost every camp. But they're sincere, blind followers for the most part. A lot of them. Especially the brothers that will admit, yeah, well, this is off on their doctrine, but I'm still a part of the camp, etc. So go ahead, Ak.
Come. Salakia. This is Second Ezra 16:74. Hear, O ye my beloved, said the Lord. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same.
So it says, hear, O ye my beloved. Who are those that the Most High loves? Those that love him. How do you love him? By keeping the commandments. 1 John 5 and 3. So it says, the days of trouble, Jacob's trouble, are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. So who is the Most High going to deliver from these days? Let's see.
Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for God is your guide,
So he's the
and the
guide of
guide of
who?
and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, said the Lord God. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves.
So it says, don't be afraid. I'm going to deliver you from the days of trouble, Jacob's trouble. If you read this whole chapter and the chapter before, 2nd Ezra 15 and 16, it's talking about Jacob's trouble. So he's saying, I will deliver you from these times. Don't be afraid. Don't doubt, because that shows lack of faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please him. Hebrews 11 and 6. So you have to have faith. It says, he's your guide and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts. Right? Precepts as well. Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. This is not just, it doesn't say keep the Torah and I will deliver you. No, because we have all this other, the Torah is a tiny part of the book. And yes, it is very important, right? It's the laws that we're supposed to be following. But what about all the Yahushai's words? What about all of the prophecies and the proverbs and the wise things that were said by all of these other men that were following after the Most High? And even the letters of Paul, right? Because there's some brothers that say, I don't know if you've heard that, Ak, but there's some brothers that are saying John the Baptist wasn't in the truth. There's some brothers that are saying Paul went off in certain things that he said.
I've seen so many. That's why I honestly try to stay away from like a lot of like, or I just mute people or unfollow people on social media because That they just say whatever, at this point. I've seen a lot. I've seen everything when it comes to people slandering, you know.
Con, con, and that's the best thing to do. Just separate yourself from that, because there's all types of doctrines floating around right now. So, like the point that I was making though is to keep the commandments and precepts. That is what is going to keep us from trouble in Jacob's trouble. The Most High is going to guide the people that are keeping the commandments and precepts, right? Like for example, just to give a quick example, one of my favorite verses, Proverbs 22:3. It says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." So if you see an evil coming, let's say you see martial law troops coming down the street, and you're about to leave, you're about to get in your car and drive down the street in that direction, right? It says a prudent man foresees the evil and hideth himself. If you are with somebody and they're like, "Yeah, let's go down the street," or you say, "Let's go down the street," and then they're like, "No, we can't do that, Ak." And then you're like, "Well, what commandment would I be breaking if I do it?" No, you would be like, "You know what? A prudent man foresees the evil. There's some martial law troops down the street. We're about to drive in that direction. That's not a good idea. Let's hide ourselves because the simple pass on and will be punished." Right? That's something that could possibly happen in the days of trouble, which is the times that it's talking about here. Right? So if you want to be delivered from the same, and these three are my rib's favorite three verses in the whole Bible, right? The days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Don't be afraid. Don't doubt. The Most High is your guide. If you're keeping the commandments and precepts, right? Don't let your sins weigh you down or your iniquities lift themselves up. So we can't say, "Well, what commandment am I breaking?" Right? Especially if there's a bunch of precepts that go against what you're doing or saying or teaching.
First Corinthians 14:36. What? Came the word of God out from you, or came it unto you only?
So he's asking a question, right? Did the word of the Most High come out of you? Of course not. It came out of the Most High. Or did it only come to you?
If any man think himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of the Lord.
So what is Paul saying to the church at Corinth? First, he said, "What do you think that the Most High's word came out of you personally, or did it only come to you?" This is how some brothers teach. Oh, Salaki. This is how some brothers teach. Like if they speak the word of God, he speaks directly through them, or it only came to them. We're the only ones with truth, right? Nobody else has the truth of the Most High. Then it says, if any man thinks he's a prophet or thinks he's spiritual, then he's supposed to acknowledge the things that Paul wrote as the commandments of the Most High. Right? So it's not, you can't be, "Oh no, that's Paul. We don't have to follow that. That's not a law." Right? We don't have to love our wives as ourselves. That was Paul. There's no law that says that. I've heard this. If it's in the word, it's in the word for a reason, because the Most High wanted it to be spoken and he wanted it to be obeyed, right? But what it comes down to is this next verse.
But if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant.
But if men want to be ignorant, and it's funny how so many people quote this verse, right? But they won't quote it in context,
Or
right?
in self
If you want
reflection.
to be con, exactly, con, or in self reflection, right? You can't be ignorant of the fact that there was a brother that posted, I believe, yesterday or the day before. He said, just because you're a shepherd doesn't mean you're more righteous than the sheep,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was like, damn, that was a good that's true, man. I've seen that many times. Not trying to say I'm righteous or something like that, but I've seen that where it's brothers act like they're well. I've taught this many people and blah blah blah, right? Yahushua said, "The last shall be first, and the first shall be last." He who's greatest among you be servant to all, right? But anyways, like it's saying here, if you think you're a prophet, if you think you're spiritual, then you need to be keeping these precepts as well, as if they were commandments, because the Most High commanded this word to be put out.
They'll make up lies and will say ignorant things to make people go against you. It's like it's okay to correct someone, but to talk down and yell at someone is ugly. Khan. Just like the brother said, the first will be last and the last will be first. But you know, the you can tell the tree by its fruits, right? Out.
Khan, most definitely. And when you think about the fruits, this is the first thing that someone pointed out to me, because like some of you may not know, but I've had personal relationships, conversations, phone numbers where I would text back and even talk on the phone with some of the, let's just say, some of the people that are like celebrities amongst Israel, the main people of some of the biggest camps. And I'm not saying this to like be prideful or nothing, because to be honest with you, I could care less, right? But when you see that people aren't even how would you say, aren't even talking, they can't even conduct or control their mouth enough to sound as if they are in or moving with the fruits of the spirit, right? Then it's very evident of what the tree, how the tree is being dressed, if y'all get what I'm saying.
Khan.
There's no way that somebody could speak without the fruits of the spirit and then still be giving off these righteous fruits. You know what I mean? And that goes back to like how the brother was saying earlier. He was talking about it in a different context, but when you're doing things the right way, the Most High, or for the right reasons, the Most High knows. When you're doing things for the wrong reasons, the Most High knows, right? So something I learned a few years ago in the truth is anytime you're in the majority, you need to take a step back and you need to reevaluate everything. When you're in the majority and everybody, like you said, everybody's against this one thing, or everybody is going with this trend and this, right? Many are called, but few are chosen. So you got to step back and really, you know what? I need to think about this again. And the first time recently that I realized that was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, when the whole baptism thing. Because everybody I talked to, right? Elders from all different types of camps, from True Nation, from HOI, from Sakari, um, even GMS, they all said the same thing to me. No, well, baptism, no, you don't need. Some of them say you can, but you don't have to, which is what the Pharisees said. Some of them say no, you can't, you shouldn't, right? But just to go along with what you're saying, they're by the way someone talks to somebody, definitely shows their fruits, right? So that was just another example. People that keep the commandments but don't want to keep precepts.
Mac Israel, I know it's off topic, but is it unlawful to wear mixed clothing of cotton and polyester?
If you want to get Deuteronomy 22 and 11 out,
Con.
So long story short, Khan, it is
This is Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11. Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together.
Khan. So as of woolen and linen together. So this was actually something I wanted to talk to you about, and I was going to, but I can't remember what came up the other day when I was going to ask you. So obviously, it's a sin to wear. There's a law stating you can't have a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together, right? So wool. So obviously, right there, the brother asked about cotton and polyester. So cotton, polyester, that would definitely be a sin. You're mixing them, right? But a brother brought this out to me, and I was like, you know what, that makes sense. But what I like to do is talk to other brothers about it. So let me ask you this: when it says woolen, right? What does wool come from?
Cotton. Oh, Salakia. Like wool, like sheep's linen, like sheep's wool.
Con, right? The majority of the time it's wool. It comes from a sheep, right?
Con.
Then linen comes from cotton, right? So he said basically what he was taught is that wool obviously comes from a sheep, and then you have the cotton or linen that comes from cotton. So one of them is an animal product, right? The wool from a sheep, and then one of them is a plant product. So what he was taught is that you cannot mix because it says as of woolen and linen together. Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts as of woolen and linen together. So what he was taught is you can't mix plant products with um, animal products. So let's say it's hemp and cotton, that would be good. Let's say it's wool and some type of fur, that would be good. What do you think about that, Ak? Kind of putting you
That's
on the
new.
spot.
No, I mean and I'll say that's new to me. That breakdown. Um, I hadn't broken down that scripture to break down wool and linen as far as going deeper into actually considering the fact that it's talking about an animal and a plant product. Um, I mean, personally, I would have to pray about it and kind of deepen my understanding, and I'm curious to see what you think about it. Um, to kind of assess what that's actually talking about because I can see that entirely. Um, but I'm not sure if I were to um fully understand it that way yet.
Same here. I just wanted to mention since the brother brought that out. But cotton, either way, if you have either understanding, right? And it's like we always say, like if you're not 100% sure about something, then we're not gonna risk it, right?
Con,
But with either one of those understandings, um, cotton and polyester. Cotton obviously is a plant-based material. Polyester is actually made of recycled plastic. So that would be unlawful off of either one of those understandings.
Mm-hmm.
right? And just to let you know as well, because I had looked into it, and the only other reference where it's talking about mixed fabrics is Leviticus 19 and 19, and it uses the exact same example. It says linen and woolen. It says like a garment mingled of linen and woolen, not to let it come upon you, right? But we could definitely talk about that a little later as well.
Con.
But the sister said, "Oh, okay. So do we? So we do need to be baptized." So Theophilus, I would say there's like maybe 3 or 4 videos that I did on baptism. Me and some other brothers did on baptism. If you want to check them out, one of them is pretty long. It's probably 3 or 4 hours, but that will cover everything having to do with water baptism, the misconceptions of that are taught against it, and etc. I want my daughter to and I to be baptized. Con. I'll if you message me on Instagram, sis, I know you said you were going to. Um I'll get back to you tomorrow after Day of Atonement, and depending on where you live, I probably know a brother in your general area that could help you out with that. You want to read that, Ark?
Hello? Oh, go ahead. Out.
I was just gonna say if you wanted to read that, Baba Kashaw.
I'm from Clovis, Fresno, California. Do you know anyone closest to my area that can baptize me and my head under the name of Yahweh in the correct way? That's interesting because um, me and his sister, who I'm courting with, she's from Fresno, or she's from Clovis. So, most high willing, um, I take a if I take a trip um to Clovis or the Fresno area within the next few months, um, I would love to help you guys in that manner. I don't know anyone else in that area besides her. Um, I'd be willing to do that if I make my trip out there. Otherwise, I don't know if you know anyone out there out.
Nah, I believe the closest I know is like there's a brother in Washington State, there's a brother in Detroit, and then you in Arizona. So you honestly would probably be the closest that I personally know. So that would be cool. The most I
Because
make that happen.
I've considered I've been planning I was just in San Diego with her. Um but I'm planning on going back to Fresno slash California. I'm not sure when, but most high willing in a couple months, I'll be in that area. And if everything works according to the Most High's will, then I'll be more than happy if it works out that way to baptize you guys.
Calm. Yeah, that would be a blessing for everybody involved, right? Every time I've had the opportunity to be used by the Most High to baptize someone, it's been a real good experience and real spiritual eye-opening experience every time.
Yeah, most definitely.
Um, so con. So Arkansas, that's a place I don't know anybody in Arkansas, but there's a brother I know in Atlanta. I'm not sure how close that is to Arkansas. Is that near Arkansas?
I'm literally
I'm not
pulling
even
up the
sure to be
map
honest.
because I am map illiterate as far as Arkansas goes.
Con, same
Uh,
here.
who's in um I don't know anyone in Memphis. That's still far. Um I can ask on my Instagram if you want to post it up to after Day of Atonement. Maybe we can see if we can find someone for the sister.
Huh. Oh, she said right next to Arkansas is next to Texas. I did not know that, and I've lived in Texas my whole life.
Oh snap! She ain't
I
lying.
know Memphis is 2 hours away. Con. Well, I know how far are you from Houston, sis? I
That
know a
looks.
couple brothers in Houston. Salaki, go ahead.
I was just looking at the map. I mean, from Houston, depending on where you're at, it's still pretty. It's still a pretty lengthy drive, but that's probably the closest major city. Houston and Dallas are kind of equidistant from like the closest border of Arkansas, but only I mean she would know better.
Con.
Memphis is two
Okay,
hours
yeah. If you
away.
want to hit me up, okay. So, Constance, if you want to hit me up tomorrow after sundown, I know a brother in Atlanta. I know a few brothers around the Houston area, in Houston, and then around Houston, and then one brother in Dallas. So, you may have to drive maybe a couple hours, or the brothers. I know some of the brothers in Houston have driven long distance to go and get people baptized as well. So, we could definitely work something out. All right. And let's just hit one more. What time is it? Hey, it's 1:44.
All
My time, my
praises.
time. Con. But yeah, let's get one more. I got a whole little list. Me and my rib were studying. I was like, hey, what do you think is some lukewarm stuff you've seen? We just started writing a little list. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
one of them is people that teach everyone but don't teach their household.
hmm,
Khan, all praise to the Most High. I just saw the sister's comment.
con. Yep, all praises to the Most High.
Khan. Like, think about it. Think about how wicked the internet is. Probably 99 or more percent of the things on the internet are wicked. Not to mention how you put www before everything, and W is the sixth letter in the Hebrew alphabet.
Yep,
But at the same time, the Most High enabled us to use it to make connections like that. Right? Like, this brother lives over 1,000 miles away from me. There's no way I would know him or have ever met him or crossed paths with him if it wasn't for the Most High enabling us to use this means of communication.
con. Yep, most definitely.
Con. So actually, you know what? We're gonna do a lesson tomorrow. What time would be good for you, Ak, tomorrow?
Um, anytime really. I mean, doesn't really matter. Whatever time. Um, you want to do it after afternoon maybe like noonish afternoon, a little bit afternoon, depending what you want to do.
Con. So would noon your time be good or one?
Yeah, we could do noon. Let's do noon. That's
Okay,
2 p.m.
con.
your time,
So it
right?
would be noon, con, 2 p.m. Central Time.
Okay, con.
So we'll go ahead and I'll set it after this, after I get off. Um, yeah, because I was me and my rib we're gonna do something after this real quick before we crash out. And she might be crashed out already. Um, I believe. Let me see real quick. Oh no, you know what? I erased the Instagram. I was gonna check something, but yeah, I'll go ahead and set it for 12. Then your time out, 2 o'clock my time,
Okay,
and
con.
we'll go ahead and get back on here. So I hope you have a good Yom Kippur or Day of Atonement. Ak, and everybody else who's observing it as well.
The water, likewise, and likewise to everyone in the comments and who's watching now and who's gonna watch later on. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai Hamashiach.
Khan, most definitely. Always all praise, honor, glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai. And if you are keeping Day of Atonement, just remember the first things we went over. Use it not as a time to go through your pleasures and find little things you want to do or find little escapes from the fact that you're fasting, right? Instead, fight through that and use it as a way to get closer to the Most High, right? Like think about it this way: when if you lose somebody in your life, right, whether it be death or whether it be they just leave your life, whatever, and you're in a low situation, whoever's around you at that time and whoever you talk to and hang out with and things of that nature, you become closer and closer to them, right? Especially in those moments. So now, even though it's not like you lost somebody, but you're going through a type of affliction, right? By fasting, especially if you've never fasted before or for this long, by turning to the Most High in that type of a situation, it's gonna be a lot easier to turn to Him when things are feeling better. Like say you're feeling better in the flesh because you can actually eat, right? It's gonna build up your relationship with Him. So through prayer, through studying, etc. I would definitely say keep that in mind and try to stay away from the pleasures of the flesh today. Is there anything else you want to say, Art?
Now you know that all praises to the Most High, like I said, and the water out for allowing me time on your platform, and definitely very edifying as always. I hope that everyone in the comments as well, the viewers, are as edified as I am.
Con, same here. Just like the brother said, and like I've said before, we're all learning here. Even if we've gone over these scriptures 10, 20, 30 times, every time it's like a new little insight that the Most High allows us to get. So all
Con.
praise to the Most High for that. And y'all have a good one through the Spirit. You have a good night out.
Likewise, shalom.
Shalom.